You the latest evidence that was released from the mom vlogger abuse case in Utah. Ruby Franke and her business partner, Jodi Hildebrandt, pleaded guilty to 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. Now, the investigation found that Franke's 6 children suffered from horrific abuse. They were regularly denied food, water, and beds to sleep in. Both women believe that the abuse they inflicted was necessary to teach the children how to repent for their sins. Now let's get you back into listening to the remainder of Kevin Franke's police interview right now. Let's take a look.
The titles of the car to my name, or we're going to cancel these credit cards and stuff like that. So just stuff related to the finances really is our only communications over the past year.
Sure.
We've had zero communications regarding the kids.
Okay.
I've had no reason to believe or think that there was anything going on. For all intents and purposes, I woke up this morning looking at the picture of my family and making my commitment today, as I do every day, that I'm going to live an honest, a virtuous, and a responsible life today. And what you're sharing with me just feels like a sucker punch.
Just imagine. Brianna, do you have questions? Okay.
If I still have a family,
yeah.
And I just I don't know what my plan. My plan is to go to God.
Sure.
And to figure this out.
Right.
And I am just heartbroken what you all are sharing with me. And I feel responsible. Separating, leaving. It hurts. And I wish I was a better husband. I know you're all doing your jobs. And I know you all have the best interests of my kids in mind. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That means a lot.
I just want my kids back. I want my family back. I want my wife back. Okay.
I don't want this to sound rude, Kevin. We've got some things to do, but we're not kicking you out. But the building's closed. Okay. You're gonna be okay driving home? I really am worried about you. Okay. Do your best, breathe. Gotta pull over the side of the road. Do you drink Red Bulls?
Want your water to go, Kevin?
I have water.
Okay, so that is the police interview of Kevin Franke. that we saw there in that clip. Let's break it down with my guest right now. Still with me is Catherine Lizardo, trial attorney, and joining me in the studio is criminal defense attorney and former assistant prosecutor Mike Korbanix. Michael, I want to throw this question to you. So it's interesting to see this case where you have this sort of public persona out there on social media and with her vlog where she's giving, I'm talking about Ruby Franke and also Jodi Hildebrandt, the co-defendant, giving parental advice, talking about marital advice and things like that. But yet behind the scenes, you have this house of horrors, essentially, with these children suffering from a lot of neglect and abuse. You just saw the interview with the father. What are your reactions as you see him get emotional there? Started out, just giving you sort of the facts, and then the emotion sets in during the police interview over the hours, I would imagine. What are your thoughts?
It's a devastating interview. It's something, you really almost say to yourself, how could this happen? How could someone with such a conclusion that, they're trying to make the world better and help children, and then you find out the premises that led to that conclusion, and it was some sort of path of saying the more we punish them, we can put them on the right path. I can imagine how frustrated the father must be finding out about this and having no clue about it and feeling totally misrepresented and lied to, quite frankly, in his life. It's got to be devastating.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we're going to keep working through this release of evidence right now in the Ruby Franke, Jodi Hildebrandt case. There's a lot of evidence that had been released today, and we'll work through it here at Law and Crime. But now let's continue. Listen to more evidence, starting with Ruby Franke's jailhouse call.
And I'm where I see the facts, I see the truth, and that's what I'm gathering. What are they charging you with? Two charges of second-degree felony child abuse. Okay. Wow. That's very serious.
The worst part and the greatest bringing of depression was not the lack of food, and it wasn't the weather conditions. It was not knowing how long it would last. So I think I was prepared for this. I do feel strong and I feel calm. And you know what? Adults have a really hard time understanding that children can be full of evil and what that takes to fight it. You've seen what it takes to fight evil. It's not the person you're fighting. And it can look like something it's not. And you've been there, you know that. And so I don't know any adults who are going to see the truth. So I'm calm about this, and I just pray that you'll hang in there.
You have 1 minute remaining for this call.
I think I can call back, but...
Yeah, but just in case, I'm preparing to step up and fight for the children that have been taken. And there's going to be a hearing in the next couple of days here in Provo.
I'm sorry, I signaled to Joe. Will you say that one more time?
Yes, I'm prepared to step up and fight for the children. They've been taken into custody. They're in foster care, and there's going to be a hearing within the next 2 or 3 days.
What about Abby and Julie?
Them too. All 4 were taken.
Where did they go to get Abby and Julie?
I don't know. While I was with them, they got Abby, and they were there.
Yeah. Hi.
Okay.
When I saw how long this separation was lasting, I wanted to think of some ways that I could bring in money or make some money if you didn't ever come back. So that's when I asked if you would co-sign on a loan if I found a house. And maybe I could Airbnb it or rent it out, or I've been playing with numbers in my head and I think I could make something, but I don't want to be dumb. I want to be very conservative. So I pulled the money and I have it in a bag. And
with you? Do the police have it?
Well, I don't know what the police took. I don't know what the police have.
But the bag was at Jodi's house?
They can't just take people's money. I mean, that's not right.
Well, they're not going to take the money, but when they have a search warrant, they have access to everything in the house.
Sure. Yeah.
I have a feeling we're going to need that money.
We might do. So, I haven't been making big purchases. I've been very conservative. I think the biggest expense has been the kids' schooling, and that's, they have enough curriculum to get them for a couple years. So.
Okay. I just received a text from Ted Dawson out of the blue. Ted Dawson, who I haven't heard from in years.
What, he just texted you?
Yeah, the story's out. So he said, Stormy sent me an article and it just broke my heart. I just wanted you to know I'm thinking about you, and if I can ever be a resource, we are always here.
Are we in the news?
It sounds like that at least you're in the news. I don't know about me. I don't know what he's talking about. But
I'm wondering if they went to Sherry to, ask her questions.
I don't know.
These bookings are public.
I know they are. And a couple months ago, Business Insider was reaching out to me, and I ignored their email, but I'm going dark.
This is a witch.
I'm not at BYU anymore, so I don't know how they're going to find me.
Yeah, maybe it was a blessing. This is a witch hunt. The devil's been after me for years, and he's mad as heck.
Have you shared that with the detectives?
I have not said a word until I have an attorney.
Okay, well, you know that this phone call is being recorded.
You have 1 minute remaining for this call.
Yes, that will come out.
Okay.
When we were driven to the jail, the detective was putting us in the car, and Jodi said, "I trust you." So
they're going to be in the hospital for 3 days.
So weird. It's just not necessary. They're trying to exaggerate this. Oh,
they didn't show me.
Like the hero.
Well, they didn't show me any pictures or anything, but the way they described it, it was very serious.
Okay, so that is a jail call recorded of Ruby Franke. And, if you are incarcerated and you're not on a legal call, you can expect that your call is going to be recorded. When I was a prosecutor, I won a trial basically on jail calls. So prosecutors use those calls very, very strategically for their case. And then defense attorneys, we're usually very astute to let our clients know, please do not be talking on a non-legal call and making admissions and saying all sorts of things. And there you have a call with Ruby Franke saying that she was basically combating, quote unquote, evil in her children. Really a bizarre sort of statement to say. But what is horrific was the condition of the children when they were taken into state custody, and Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt, the business partner, were arrested. Mike Corbanix, let's talk about what we just heard there. I mean, it seems to be some sort of mindset that there was some issue with the children of being evil, and this was some attempt to expunge them of that evil. It's a really bizarre set of facts, especially when you see the public persona that Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt put out there. What are your thoughts about that jail call?
Well, like you said, it's devastating that people talk like that on the phone in the jail, because you're warned before you're on it. And like you said, you used it when you were a prosecutor to help you. They didn't have many recorded calls when I was a prosecutor. That was too long ago. But back now, that's one of the greatest pieces of evidence for the prosecution on the state or federal level, is people don't realize what they're talking about on the phone. And when they do get it put into a recording and it's played in front of a jury, it's devastating.
No, absolutely. That's why those calls are really potentially great evidence for prosecutors, especially if it's a case where you're dealing with circumstantial evidence and you need to connect the dots. And then now you have the words of the defendant themselves to bring into court. It could be really powerful. We're going to take a quick break here at Law and Crime. When we come back, more of the Ruby Franke, Jodi Hildebrandt evidence dump, and we will review it with you, so stay tuned. Welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, we've been sharing with you all the latest evidence that was released from the mom vlogger abuse case in Utah. Ruby Franke and her business partner, Jodi Hildebrandt, pled guilty to 4 counts of aggravated child abuse and are sentenced to up to 60 years in prison. Investigators found that Franke's 6 children suffered from horrific abuse. They were regularly denied food, water, and beds to sleep in. They were also forced to do physical tasks, including sitting against a wall without a chair or stool for hours at a time. Both women were found to be motivated by religious extremism to repent for their sins. Now let's get you back to listening to some of that evidence now, including the jailhouse calls of Ruby Franke. Let's take a listen.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay, that was
over there.
It's 9:30. We're good.
Okay. At night?
Yeah. Yeah. We're 8 hours ahead.
Okay.
I'm glad you could call us back.
Yeah. I haven't used the phones very much. They're kind of hard to figure out, but yeah, I think I figured out how to use. I don't think this one will shut me off. I think the one I called you was a free call, and this one will be paid for by my account. Kevin, I'll put some money in it. But I was saying I can't say everything that I want to say, but I really did feel like the arrest was like a rescue. Like I just felt so many angels around, and it was like a relief. It was just really kind of surreal, kind of strange. But I just keep thinking about, President Nelson's talk, think celestial, and I know he said in the past about myopic thinking, and he's given a lot of context to, how small this life really is, and I'm just so grateful. How many people, will go to the grave not having woken up. And I want to use this time, and I am using this time to change, to repent, and to do what I can to let the Lord know I love him and my family, and I've had many experiences here to kind of guide my thinking. It's like, I don't know, my attorney's been really good. Did you know my attorney is...
I believe that God has a hand in the old Ruby, being kind of set free or whatever you want to call it, that, you know, thing being gone.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I could not come out of this without his grace, without his mercy, without his help. This has been the strangest and the most miraculous intervention. It put everybody where they needed to be. It separated me from Jodi, so I'm not hearing her. And I think just being gone and not hearing her has cleared a lot of things up for me. And it put the kids in a place where... Did you see that Jodi pled guilty today?
I did see that. Yes. Is that a relief for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a big relief. It's a big relief. There would have been positive the other way too had she not pled guilty. There's enough evidence that she could have been convicted for life, but that would have been messy. It would have been really messy, and the kids would have. So
do you and her get the same outcome no matter what now, or is there a chance that it would be different?
That's a really good question. That's one that I've asked Lamar. No, we can still have different outcomes. So Ellie asked a little bit about this. I wrote it out in a text to her, but so the next thing that will happen is I will fill out, and she will fill out probation and there's another P, paperwork. And basically you go through your history and you tell them your history, which there's no history on me. There's nothing, no criminal history, no mental health history, nothing. And I'm also hiring a professional to do a mental health evaluation, just to say she's good, like there's no mental health problems at all. And then that will go to my probationary board. Jodi, she can lie on her paperwork, and she probably will. I don't think she's going to give them her history. But I think in the interview it's going to be apparent that she's mentally ill. And so that will affect how long someone, you know, because they're looking how repentant are you? How much responsibility are you taking? How are you aware that what you've done is wrong? And she's not. The only reason she pled is because she didn't want to do life. She knew I would testify. The other thing is, on my plea deal, when I come up for probation, the prosecuting attorney can, will often, if they think that you're a danger to society, will talk to the probationary board and will write them a letter saying, I think she needs to stay where she is. He's going to stay neutral and not write any letter when my probation comes up, which is a really big deal. But for her, he's not going to stay neutral. So we can come up to probation, and I can get off on probation, and she may not.
So that's more of Ruby Franke's calls from jail that were recorded that we are receiving in this evidence released today. Mike Corbenix, I want to ask you the first question here. They're talking about plea deals, talking about the co-defendant, Hildebrandt, and various aspects of the plea deal at consideration. What do you think of the decision by these defendants to take that plea? And if you look at the jail sentence, it's not a slap on the wrist. We're talking about consecutive sentences for horrific crimes. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like it's some lenient deal that they got. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think some of my thoughts are they didn't get a lenient deal because I think the government appeared to have devastating, overriding evidence way beyond a reasonable doubt here as to what occurred and the violations of the law. So I think that's why the offers were so much stronger. It's a little unusual. I'm actually not used to being a Jersey guy, not hearing someone pleading to 1 to 14 years and letting a judge make a decision.
Yeah.
So that's a little difficult to put my head around of why you would take a plea to that. Also, when you go to her first phone call, she claims she did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
So I'm a little surprised that she was taking a plea, but I think maybe sitting in jail made her come to realization.
Right. No, I was going to say the same thing. You know, when you got a lot of time to think behind bars, you know, maybe some of that thought process changes. Catherine, speaking of these calls, before we were talking about whether some of her comments could be calculated, knowing that the calls were being recorded. But let's talk about some mental health issues here. There was some reference to that in this clip that we just saw here. Do you think that there was consideration for Ruby Frank, that Ruby Franke had some mental health issues? And as an attorney, a defense attorney specifically, what are some of the things that you may be requesting for your client if you think that there is a mental health issue at play?
As a defense attorney, I'd be requesting a mental health report and investigation and examination of my client. And we see there that they were discussing during the call that she should get one, especially with the type of words and actions that they took, the horrific crime, and how she's saying that the abuse she did for her kids to repent their sins. That raises a lot of mental health concerns. As a mental health advocate myself, I would definitely implore that for parents who need mental health issues and mental health concerns. And here we also heard how Jodi Hildebrandt will likely claim mental illness. That's what the lady that she was talking to, that Ruby was talking to, so that she might get a lesser sentence, that she could lie. We don't know whether that happened. We're just speculating based on that call. But in Utah, they actually have the Utah Board of Parole that would determine how long this consecutive sentences of the two women will be. It's interesting to note, too, that in Utah, in 2018, they're the first state in the country to implement the free range parenting law, where they changed the definition of child neglect, that as long as the children are getting their basic needs and are of sufficient age and maturity, they can be left at home. And there have been numerous calls to the Department of Children's Services about Ruby Franke's house, because the neighbors were concerned that she was leaving her kids home alone for days, and they were concerned if they had food to eat.
Right. Great analysis there. We're going to take a quick break here at Law and Crime. When we come back, more of this evidence, so stay tuned.